You see, this is how you determine how an ideological position is worthwhile, insofar as I'm concerned. You deliberately expose it to things that challenge it. You consider them. That's what media, art does. That's what it should ideally do. It should allow for transgression in an arena where there are no consequences apart from the purely emotional and intellectual. That's the purpose of art, insofar as I see it. This is a subjective matter, and I acknowledge that, but this is how I see it. And if you just want art that comforts you, that reinforces prescribed or pre-established parameters, then you may as well be living in a box that's lined with mirrors, inside a bubble that reflects yourself back constantly. It is an exercise in impotence. It is creative and intellectual masturbation. It has no purpose or merit at all. In fact, it's less than masturbation, because masturbation has an end. It creates pleasure and releases tension and so on and so forth. It has an end. Whereas this neurotic reinforcement doesn't. All it creates is stagnation of the self. And it's appalling. It's a truly appalling status when that is protected culturally and legally. It's appalling, and it demonstrates a sickness, a fundamental sickness at the heart of Western culture, I think, which is the sickness of comfort. It's this seeking out of little niches that are so nice and cozy and warm, where nothing will challenge us. It is the sickness of paradise, of the concept of paradise. It's a fundamental flaw at the heart of our species, that concepts such as heaven and paradise are abstract expressions of this need for absolute and sustained joy, and a lack of discomfort, lack of challenge, lack of criticism, lack of difficulty, lack of progression, lack of change, the need for stagnation. That's what heaven is. And that's what censorship is, ironically. But here's the rub. There are things you can't censor. There are dreams, there are thoughts. I'm sure you've all done it. I'm sure you've all caught yourself imagining something off the cuff that would morally offend you or cause you to recoil, causes you to draw yourself up in horror or in repugnance or whatever. That's because imagination cannot be censored, it cannot be directed, and it cannot be silenced. If there's nothing in the outside world that offends you, then just wait till you fall asleep. There will always be something. So not only is it an exercise in stagnation, it's an exercise in absolute impotence. And quite frankly, it's the kind of thing that makes me want to go out of my way to make videos on YouTube, to make poetry, to make stories that offend people, that are deliberately designed to offend. It may be puerile, and it may be reactionary, but it is a very, very good shock tactic sometimes. It's a very good way of demonstrating the extremes that censorship tends to foment. This is another irony of censorship. It doesn't work. Films, look at films and books that are banned, right? They become infamous. They go underground. They proliferate on underground circles, and it's so easy now. That's the thing. It's so easy thanks to the internet. And they become iconic. The Life of Brian, The Evil Dead, The Exorcist, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Satanic Verses, Lady Chatterley's Lover. All of them subject to censorship and banning and so on and so forth from moral imbeciles who didn't understand the import of the works, who often hadn't even seen or read the fuckers. And as a result made classic. This is the thing about oppression of all kinds, oppression of appetite. If you put desire and inclination under pressure, if you try to repress it, it becomes keener and keener and keener. It crystallizes, becomes something very, very solid, and exerts itself. It tends to explode. And I have a theory that this is why you have certain subcultures. For example, the most pertinent I can think of is the gay subculture in the Western world. I mean, the gay subculture has obviously suffered oppression of various kinds for millennia, for decades and centuries. And as a result, it expresses itself in very extreme ways, and sometimes those ways are harmful. It's why you have the sort of self-contained cultures within the bar and club cultures and whatnot, and why they are so extreme. It's because there are no other outlets or venues that are sort of culturally mandated for the expression of homosexual inclination or desire or whatever. It's quite incredible. And it baffles me that other people can't see this. It baffles me. It's because it's so evident. It's something, it's consistent. It baffles me that the people who promote censorship can't see it. It happened. Look at YouTube. You see it on YouTube all the time. If a video is false flagged or taken down as a result of a false DMCA, it goes viral. I owe half of my subscribers, probably more, to the fact that my channel was consistently vote botted in its infancy. I remember when I was first vote botted, I went from something like 800 subscribers up to 200 within the space of a week. It's insane. It doesn't work. And that is all I really have to say on the matter. I am really tempted to follow this this video with readings from certain works that might be considered offensive by some groups. I'm looking at a copy of Philosophy in the Boudoir by the Marquis de Sade. Stay tuned.